Chapter 12 Little Rabbit Boo-Hoo of Little Bear by Laura Rountree Smith. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Carolyn Francis. Little Bear by Laura Rountree Smith. Little Rabbit Boo-Hoo. Next morning, Grandpa Grumbles heard a tap on his door. "Too early to get up," he grumbled. "Don't wake me up! Don't wake me up!" Little Bear heard a tap on his door, and he cried, "See the sunshine?" He dressed and hurried downstairs. Little Bear never liked to be late to breakfast. Breakfast was on the table, and Red Riding Hood said, "We will sit down and have breakfast, Little Bear." Pretty soon a great grumbling was heard, and Grandpa Grumbles came downstairs one step at a time. He was talking to himself. "Oh dear," he said. "Have to get breakfast for my visitors." When he came into the dining room, he was so surprised to see breakfast on the table that he forgot to grumble. He sat down and drank his coffee without saying a word. Suddenly a crash was heard, then another and another. "I am being robbed!" cried Grandpa Grumbles. "Wow, wow! I am afraid!" cried Little Bear. Red Riding Hood started for the cellar. "Get a candle!" she called. Grandpa Grumbles said, "I haven't any candle." Little Bear said, "I am afraid to carry a lamp." While they stood there talking, Bushytail came bounding up the cellar stairs. He had a bottle of cider under each arm. "I broke some," he said. "It is too dark in your cellar." Grandpa Grumbles got a switch and ran after Bushytail. But Bushytail jumped on a sofa and shouted, "Great news! Great news!" Of course they all stopped to listen. Little Bear said, "Tell us the news! Tell us the news!" Bushytail said, "Susan Cottontail has lost her glasses." Then Grandpa began to grumble, and Little Bear rolled over on the floor and laughed until he cried. "Have you any cookies for me today?" asked Bushytail. Red Riding Hood said, "Why do you want cookies?" She had hardly gotten the words out of her mouth before Bushytail had started into the pantry and helped himself. Then whisk! He was out through the window and away as fast as his long legs could carry him. Just at that minute, Little Bear heard a sound, and he said, "Hush! Listen! What is it?" They heard a wee voice say, "I am here! I am lost! Boo-hoo!" Grandpa Grumbles went to the door, and there sat the funniest little rabbit you have ever seen. "Too many visitors. Don't come in," said Grandpa Grumbles. The little rabbit said, "Boo-hoo! Please let me in." Grandpa Grumbles looked over his spectacles and said, "What is your name?" The crybaby rabbit said, "Boo-hoo!" "That seems a rather bad question to ask around here," said Grandpa Grumbles. "Red Riding Hood, are you sure you have a name?" Red Riding Hood said, "I know this little rabbit. She's a good little rabbit, but she cries so much they call her Boo-hoo." "Too many visitors, too many visitors," said Grandpa Grumbles again. Little Bear went up to the rabbit and said, "Don't cry any more. I haven't any name either." Then the little rabbit dried her eyes on a pocket handkerchief, and Grandpa Grumbles shouted, "Give them all some cookies, can't you hear me? Give them all some cookies." "Hush!" cried Red Riding Hood. "Bushytail stole them all." Then they all shouted, "Oh ho! Bushytail stole all the cookies. Oh, ho! Bushytail is a sly old fellow." "Off to bed, every one of you," shouted Grandpa Grumbles, "and look under your pillows. Be sure to look under your pillows." Then they all scampered off to bed quickly, you may be sure, and each looked under his pillow. Now what do you suppose was under each pillow? Red Riding Hood found a cookie frosted with red sugar. Little Bear found a cookie frosted with blue sugar. The rabbit found a cookie frosted with white sugar, and they all cried, "Hurrah for Grandpa Grumbles! 3 cheers for Grandpa Grumbles!" "Too many visitors," he answered with a chuckle. "Too many visitors. Go to bed, every one of you." Then they all went to bed and had pleasant dreams. Red Riding Hood dreamed that her basket was full of frosted cookies. Little Bear dreamed that he had a very fine blue cookie as big as a fan. The little rabbit dreamed that she saw cookies growing in a farmer's field. Grandpa Grumbles lay awake a long time. "I will surprise them all tomorrow," he said. "I have many surprises in my house." End of Little Rabbit Boo-Hoo.